This week I decided to do something nice and cheery. Even though it's the beginning of February, it might not be so sunny outside, but you can brighten your day with a card like this. And this is actually using the brand new Painted Flowers collection. So we have the paper pack and the foil paper towel. This one's already been used, of course. And then the purple jewel border dazzles, as well as ribbons from the set of ribbons that goes with the Painted Flowers. So don't forget to check out the savings bundle after you watch this episode. Now let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is cover this blank white card with this all over floral pattern. And the easiest way to do that is to apply glue stick to the front of the card. And you don't have to cover every single square inch of it. I usually just do it really quick. And then turn over your paper. Place your card in the corner. And this way ensures that you don't waste any of your pretty paper. You're just using exactly what's needed for the card. So taking my clear acrylic ruler, my handy dandy retractable knife, I'm going to line up my ruler right along the edge of the card here. This is the card fold. And one swipe down, and that's a clean cut. And then oops, my glue stick. Other side. And you've got a perfectly straight covered card. So what I've done now is I've actually measured on either side the right in the middle and put a pencil mark here at 2.5 and the other side at 2.5, and then connected those two marks to create a horizontal line just down the center. And so now I'm going to apply glue stick above this line, and then I'm going to apply the card to my blue floral paper. And I'm gonna make it so that it covers up, just covers the line, but it's still covering pretty much exactly half of the card. And I'll just trim this off. So now that I've got that down, I'm going to do the next step, which is to place my purple jewel border dazzles. So I'm gonna use this strip right here. But first I'm gonna trim it just a little bit so I don't have the whole strip trying to stick down. So I'm just gonna cut it with my retractable knife right here. And I can pick that up. There we go. And since I have a nice straight line on my card, it should be pretty easy to stick down straight across. And just trim off the excess from the back. Great. Now that I've got the center line done, what I want to do is actually line all of the edges with more border dazzles. Now since these dazzles come in 8-inch lengths, I'm gonna need a total of 23 inches. So I'm gonna pick a border on here that occurs 3 times at least. So this scallop border has 4 lengths, so that's gonna be plenty to fit around my entire card. So I'm gonna do the same thing as I did with the middle line. Just kind of measure it and trim on the side, and then take it and apply carefully to the edge of my card. And I'm going to continue taking different lengths and covering all of my borders. Now that our card is looking nice and sparkly, we can start on putting together the paper towel. With a Painted Flowers paper towel, the first thing I'm going to do is punch out these pieces. So the largest one, and I'm just pushing from the back. And I want to stamp my greeting in the center of the circle, but I'm not going to stamp it on this largest one because there is a smaller one that goes on top of it. And with these really tiny details, you want to be really careful when you're popping them out. And there's actually a couple of spots here. When you turn it over, you'll see where they come out, but I'm going to just use my knife and try and pop those out. Here's a closer look at what I'm doing. So on the back here, there are some little tiny areas that haven't been popped out. So what I can do is actually go right with my knife to cut off the little nibs that are holding them in place, and that makes it just a little bit easier when I'm trying to pop out these tiny pieces from the front. And I can even just kind of stab the little pieces with my knife and then pull them out that way. Great. So those are all the little blank areas, and now I have a clean edge. And if I want to clean it up even more, I can take my scissors and just snip off those little nibs. So now what I'm going to do is pop out the rest of the pieces for this image, and then I'm going to stamp my greeting right in the middle of the circle. So here are the 3 layering pieces all popped out, and I'm actually going to stamp on the center one with the Heartfelt Greetings stamp set, and I'm going to use the Thinking of You stamp, which I've already put on my acrylic block here. And I'm going to use my black StazOn because this is a shiny foil surface. You're going to want to use something permanent such as StazOn. Okay. So I usually leave my stamp down and then turn my ink pad upside down and ink it up that way. Sometimes if the stamp is really small, then I do it the other way, but to each your own. Alright, so I want my circle to be kind of like that. Let's see how that's fitting. Alright. Just right there. And I'm just pressing gently in the middle. There we go. And that'll dry in a few seconds, so that doesn't take too long at all. Alright, so now I'm done stamping this piece, and I'm going to start doing the ribbon treatment that comes behind this area. So scoot those away. Take my hot pink dotted ribbon, and I'm also going to use my Zots. So on this roll here, I'm going to tear off the excess paper, and I'm going to put a Zot on my ribbon, or I could do it on my paper towel piece. Either way works. I'm actually going to put it on the wrong side of my ribbon. So about 1.5 inches in, I'm going to place the Zot. So I stick it to the backing sheet, lift off, and my Zot comes with it. So I'm going to turn this piece over, and I actually want it to be coming out the bottom kind of like this. So I'm going to go right about there. There we go. And then I'm going to take another Zot. You can kind of see where they are on the backing sheet here, and press it next to the first one. And there it is right there. Now I'm going to fold my ribbon up again, press it down on that Zot, and create a little loop here. So this is going to take a series of dots, and the ribbon's just going to be folding back on itself to create those loops. Another dot, and my first loop is finished. Okay, so there's a little preview of that one. Now I'm going to place a dot pretty close to that last one so that my ribbon can fold upward. And then another dot. Ribbon folds downward. Keeping these loops about the same length. Dot again. Now these small dots, they come in a pack of either 300, but there's also a huge one, lots of dots box, which contains 900 dots. And I actually do recommend getting the larger size because you end up using them so often. Another dot. I'm going to start, just tear off the excess paper as you go along and fold back about right there. Okay, from the front, see how we're looking. I think that looks pretty. Now I'm just going to fold it once back up this way and cut the ribbon right there with my handy dandy ribbon cutter, and then we'll be ready to build the whole paper towel piece. Okay, so I placed my foam tape and already peeled off the backing on this piece, so I'm going to match it up with that same image on the largest piece with the foam tape in between, and gently press down, just make sure all the tape is sticking. Looks good. And then the last piece is this little flower. That goes right on top of there. Great. Now you can either glue this directly with glue stick onto your card, or you can foam tape it to add an extra layer of dimension, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm just peeling off the last of the backing of the foam tape, and I'm going to place it on the card kind of on the left side towards the bottom a little bit, right about there. Okay, so we're almost done with the front of our card. The next thing I'm going to do is add a few more strips of these dazzle borders, and I'm going to add them kind of as rays coming out of this nice beautiful focal on the front. So I'm going to start going with some of these thinner borders here. This one looks pretty good. I'm going to have it go from about here to about there. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it, trimming it right there with my knife, and then peel that off. And I'm just going to tuck it under the back of this. That looks pretty good. And trim off the excess. Now I'm going to do one along the bottom side. So I peeled off the other half of that border. Kind of tuck it behind there. Perfect. All right, a few more lines and then we'll be done with the front. I was able to use this same style of border, doing all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines with the same style, just using 2 strips. And I was only able to do that because I didn't go behind the focal here and go all the way across the card. I just kind of hid it under at the ends under the paper towel here, and that way you can make better use of your sparkly borders, and they can be used on many, many more projects. Alright, so on to the inside. So first I'm going to cover the entire inside of my card with this purple paper. Okay. So there's our purple. Now I'm going to cut a rectangle of blue to kind of fit inside the purple. But I want to leave a space at the top for my greeting, which is going to be sending happy thoughts. So that's going to need about 1.25 inches of space. So let's see, we've got about 5 3/4 by, we'll say 3. So 5 3/4 by 3. So I'm going to glue this piece right down there. So center it towards the bottom. Great. Now I'm going to go ahead and stamp with my sending happy thoughts right in the center of the purple. So I've got it on my acrylic block. Got my stays on. Ink that up nice and even. And stamp in the center. Okay, now I'm going to line my empty writing portion with the border dazzles. So I'm going to be using this very edge scallop right here. I guess it's kind of a reverse scallop since it's going the opposite way. See how much we need. Just going to trim it right about there. Oops, I was measuring the purple, but it's okay if we have a little bit extra on the blue. Just trim it right off. Because there are 4 lengths of this on the dazzle sheet, you'll have plenty left to finish this. So with that little edge, I can just take my knife and very carefully trim that off and peel off the excess, and then repeat with all 4 sides. Now on the paper towel sheet, you'll see some of the images labeled extra art. It's really tiny, but those are the pieces that don't go on any of the larger paper towel stacked images, and they are free to use how you like. So I popped those out already, and I'm gonna actually glue them to the inside of my card. Okay, so that's where I've chosen to glue my sparkly foil paper towel. I love how this glitters and shimmers and shines. So not only the paper towel, but also the border around the writing space here. And this is intended for you to use kind of just to contain your personal note, and you can sign at the bottom, so it gives you a little bit of space. And then the front, thinking of you. So when you have stamps like the heartfelt greetings, or the birthday greetings, or any of those word stamps, you have quite a few to choose from So you can definitely personalize your card for any occasion. So that's the end of this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed making this card with me. And I just wanted to show you the savings bundle for this week. So if you're viewing this on my blog and not just on YouTube, you can actually click above this video and it'll give you a link to this great savings bundle, which includes the Painted Flowers 12 by 12 paper pack, and that's actually 2 each of these 6 patterns. And it also includes the Painted Flowers shimmery foil paper towel, and also the ribbon set. Now this is just a handful of the ribbons in the set. There are actually a dozen different ribbons and they all match perfectly with the papers. And of course you're getting this beautiful set of purple jewel border dazzles. So don't want to miss out on that. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.